I cannot make this shit up. I just seen a Mexican get deported and said he gonna be back in a week and vlogged his whole trip back to the US in a coyote van.
Guys, I think I have found just the right guy. I think I've found him. Let's take a look.
Who the fuck leaked my location? Which one of you fuckers hacked my IP address and sent immigration control? I can't even take a shit in peace. At least give me a fucking massage after yeeting me on the floor.
Shut it, monkey.
Where are you guys taking me anyways? I hope whoever called IC on me is happy. Now I'm getting deported to Mexico. I'm not even Mexican. I'm basically black.
What did you just say?
No hablo inglés.
This has to be the worst fucking day of my life. They didn't even have a toilet on the plane, so I shat outside the window.
Maybe Mexico ain't so bad after all. Look at this view. I think I could get used to this.
You have sexy Latinas and sexy Latinos a little like. There's plenty of fish in the sea. Whatever floats your boat, I guess.
Yo, Mr. President, thanks for the time off. Vacation was great, but I'm back. Bigfoot's ready to work again.
Now, today you are very lucky, guys. Today you are very, very lucky. You are in for quite a show. That is because today I have actually prepared a real plan. In first segment, we will go over how did we get here. How did we get into this situation? How did it happen that there are so many undocumented immigrants in the United States? In the second segment, we will go over, is it possible to deport all of these people? Is it really possible? In third segment, we will go over, is it ethical? Is it ethical to do so? In fourth segment, we will briefly mention LA riots again. We will briefly mention the LA riots that put a stop to all of this, madness. And fifth, but last but not least, at the fifth, I have a huge announcement to make. I have a huge announcement to make. So don't go anywhere. You truly don't want to miss that one. Let's go, guys. Let's go. So the reason why there are so many undocumented people in the United States is, well, we have to first go over how capitalism works a little bit. In general, capitalism is based off of private capital that is then deployed into the economy. And in return, you want interest. You want to earn more than you deployed. So if you put $100 million into a company, you ideally want to see return on your investment. So you want to see, for example, 110 million back in 10 years, for example, in 10 years. Okay, so you want more money. As an investor, you want to put money in and then get more money out. You want to deploy your capital and then get some form of interest or dividends or some form of extra money back over some period of time. Now, if capitalism is let unchecked, if there is a free capitalism, completely free markets, there are certain things that happen. For example, the certain phenomena like the creation of monopolies or the just grow and grow of corporations that hold more and more power. And so this is something that we can see in the United States. As these companies grow, the people who own them, the people who run them, co-founders and CEOs, they all have an enormous amount of power and they can dictate legislature through a lobby, through influencing the government, through controlling the congressmen and senators and people in the Washington DC. They control them with money and with favoritism, which is a term that we often use with regards to Washington DC and how it works. But also more importantly, they want more and more money. They want to make more and more money. That is understandable. And so first thing that happened is that they shifted a lot of jobs overseas. they shifted a lot of jobs overseas because the people overseas, abroad, are much cheaper, and they work for much less. At least at the time they did. In the 90s, they were much cheaper in Asia. It's not necessarily quite true. Their wages have risen as well, but at that time it was much cheaper to create stuff abroad, not in the United States. So they shifted a lot of manufacturing jobs away. And then the rest of the jobs, the service jobs, the, delivering your food or taking care of your kids, taking care of your elderly, a lot of the service jobs, they didn't want to pay real wages either. And so they lobbied in Washington, D.C. in order to get a lot of migrants to basically work for very little, even less than minimum wage, and so that they wouldn't have to pay them. But this meant that a lot of Americans were left out of the job market. Even things like constructions are mainly done by illegal or undocumented migrants in the United States. And so this is a huge problem because part of the United States feels like, rightfully so, that they have been basically they have been pushed out of the society because of what the oligarchs, what the billionaires have done. They have influenced the government in order to work for them and not work for the people. And this is a huge problem that creates a class tension between the bottom 99%, the poor people who have nothing, and, well, they have a lot, but in terms of comparing themselves to the 1% of the oligarchy class, they don't have as much, obviously. And so this creates a huge tensions inside of the country.
Chad, I think we're fucked. They said they were deporting all illegal aliens back. I didn't know that I fucking counted. I just like the big booty Latinas and burritos a little too much.
Now, is it possible to deport all of these people, all of these undocumented people? Well, according to the real statistics that I have Googled just before starting this video, there are 40 million people who have not been born in the United States. And from these 40 million people, according to the real statistics, 13.7 million people are undocumented. Now, this is a rough estimation because it's hard to count undocumented people. And also I just want to mention that some people think that this number is much higher. But we will go with this number, 13.7 million undocumented people in the United States. Now, there have been some rough estimations that it costs around $20,000 to deport one undocumented person. This is how much it cost the Trump's administration to deport one undocumented person. And so if we would go with this number, then 13.7 million people, if we would want to deport all of them, it would cost $274 billion, which is 1/3 of the defense budget, a yearly defense budget. And so this is clearly, this is not going to happen. This is just something that it's not possible, This is just, it's not going to happen. This is too much money. The government does not have the money in the budget in order to balance other parts of the budget. And certain parts of the budget are even sealed by law. You cannot touch them. And so this is just impossible. Even if we would stretch it over the 4 years that the administration have, it's just not going to happen. This is unrealistic. If we would say that the $20,000 is too much and that is overestimated, if we would go 1/4, if we would go $5,000, it would cost us $68 billion $68.5 billion to deport all of these undocumented people. And this is still a really huge number. This is still a really huge number. I don't think that the administration would be able to find the money in it for the budget. And like we saw in the video in this in the beginning of this segment, the problem is that the people who want to really be in the United States, they will find a way anyway. They will find a way back into the United States anyway. And so this is just unrealistic. Now this is obviously a very complicated situation. It's not easy. And I just want to point out that even if you deported all of these people, all of these 13.7 million people, this would really hurt the economy badly, because they pay indirect taxes. They don't pay direct taxes because they are here obviously undocumented. They don't pay taxes directly, but they pay indirect taxes. Like for example, the sales tax. If you buy anything in the grocery store, part of the money goes into the local government. I believe that the sales tax is managed by the state. It's not a federal thing. So they pay into the state budget. And they pay a lot of different forms of taxes that you may not necessarily think about, but they pay indirect taxes into the budget. But more importantly, they obviously pump up the economy as well. This is a huge thing that nobody really talks about, but without some of the cheap labor, the United States would hardly ever function. It really benefits from this particular cheap labor. And so this just seems unimaginable that they would be able to get rid of these people. Now again, sorry, I got a little distracted in my head. But what I believe needs to happen is that the Democrats propose something along the lines of normalization. This is eventually will have to happen, that they will basically issue more green cards. They will basically normalize these people and make them citizens. They will probably start with the people who have been here 17 years and who have worked here on a different form of work visa, but they don't have US citizenship yet. That they will be more likely normalized first. They will be normalized citizens, and this will eventually gradually happen over time in the next administrations. That is not because the Democrats are some saints or because they are amazing people, but it's because there is no money for it. There is no money in the budget. You cannot deport these people. The situation is very bad. I don't wanna underestimate it, and this is one of the things that seems like the only solution. It's not perfect solution, and it's just not possible. You cannot get rid of the 13 million people who are just living there. So eventually there will be some form of normalization.
Our local food bank sent out an email that said, like, don't come here unless you need food, and I took that to mean that, like, unless you really need it, because they would be short on supply. Well, I ran into one of the workers. I live in kind of a small rural-ish town, and he said it's because one of the other food banks got raided and people are afraid to come.
Now, what this content creator is talking about is that ICE has been raiding food banks and Home Depots, even graduations, high school graduations, and farms. They have been truly all over the place. They have been raiding work and everyday normal people have been having to deal with these raids. Also, they have been going after people who have been here for 17 years and had a working visa, and if they went to an ICE appointment to basically renew their visas, they would be basically kidnapped and put into deportation camps. This seems hard to imagine that this is legal. Being in the country illegally is not a criminal offense, it is a civil offense. and there are rules in place in order to protect those who follow the rules. For example, those who come to the ICE appointments, those are those who follow the rules, and they should be protected under the law. And so these instances are quite hard to imagine that they are with the following of law. With that being said, in general, from ethics point of view, this is just very, very hard to stomach for most Americans. This is very, very hard to witness for a lot of Americans. This is probably not what they imagined that they will be voting for. Now, we also have to point out that from the macro perspective, if we zoom out a little bit, 13.7 million people is a number that for many people may be hard to imagine, but this is a huge number of people. This is a huge number of people. For example, the country that I live in, that I have been born in, and that I'm in right now, has less people in it than 13.7 million. So these undocumented people, there is more undocumented people in the United States than in my entire country combined. So this is just a huge number. This is really huge number. And for example, Israel, they are trying to get rid of 2.3 million people in Gaza. This is clearly ethnic cleansing. And if the United States would try to do the same, try to get rid of 13.7 million people, this would clearly be they would clearly have to violate international law. This would clearly be a form of ethnic cleansing. If it would have to be done on a macro scale, if this would have to go on a true macro scale, if they were truly serious getting rid of all of these people, this is just impossible. Now the situation is obviously very hard. I don't want to minimize this. A lot of people have been let into the country, and this is obviously very hard situation to deal with. But at this point, we have to be quite realistic, and getting rid of these people is almost impossible. Not only is it extremely expensive, but also there are more and more videos online surfacing of people who have been deported, for example, into Mexico, and then a week later they have come back. So it is truly seems like an impossible task to do with brutal force. There needs to be some form of solution, and also there also needs to be a strong border in order to prevent more and more people coming, because we have to be honest with ourselves. The situation is quite severe, and worsening it with more and more people coming in would be just putting gasoline into the fire.
I came out for tacos. I thought it was a street festival. Now Home Depot's on fire and someone handed me a leaf blower. I think I just joined a revolution by accident.
Now the LA raids, we have talked about them in a previous video, so if you wanna check out that video, it's on my channel. But basically these LA riots put at least temporary stop to the ICE raids. That is because you obviously cannot have all of the major cities and rest of the country burning all the time. And so there have been at least a pause when it comes to what the ICE has been doing inside of the country. There has been official statement that it is because some people called Donald Trump, but most likely even the hotel sector and farm sector, they have already been expecting this, and so it is very unlikely that it has been because of personal cause, but most likely it has been because the Trump's advisors advise him that he needs to at least put a temporary pause to these ICE raids. They just cannot afford to have every single city burning like LA. It is bad for the economy. It would pause the economic productivity inside of the country, and it could create economic stress. And therefore you cannot afford to have protests like these going on. Now, since then, allegedly, the ice raids have already begun again, and there have been again more and more ICE agents just, around trying to catch people off guard, and it just feels a bit dystopian. I'm not gonna lie, it feels a bit dystopian. Like I mentioned in this video, the more sensible and reasonable approach would most likely be toughen up the border as much as possible, not allow more people in. That would only worsen the situation. Toughening up the border and not allowing more people in is most likely necessary at this point. It's not a question of if we can, but a question of kinda we must. That is because the number of people is just too much to handle for the system. On the other hand, having ice raids and putting people in what seems to be concentration camps is, or at least camps that are almost similar in nature, like in Salvador. These are truly, truly horrific camps, or even Guantanamo. These are just torture camps. That is obviously quite unethical and quite morally horrific to witness. And so some form of normalization has to happen for at least the citizens that have already been inside of the country for 17-20 years working on working visa. These people need to be normalized first, and it is just the most sensible approach, since they've already been living here, and since there is so many people that deporting them would be impossible, financially impossible. It would ruin the country, like we point out in this video. Like I point out in the beginning of the video, I have a little bit of a lighter message at the end. I have a little bit of a lighter announcement at the end. I have a huge announcement. I have actually created a media company, huge media company, and one of our investigative journalists, one of our investigative reporter was able to secure an interview with Roswell UFO crash survivor. Our investigative journalist Poppy Gloria has been able to interview the lone survivor of the UFO crash in Roswell in 1947. So make sure to check out the future video that will be posted on this channel. It will be most likely posted soon, so make sure to check it out. Also, make sure to smash that like button, make sure to smash that subscribe button. I write quite an exciting blog, so make sure to check out that blog as well. And as always, guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.